Let's get started with the immediate thing. Team of 3 is dead. This game mode is very dead. You can't find matches for it. We're talking 20-minute wait times with nobody to queue up against, and it's genuinely a type of mode where it's really wasted. It's a really wasted game. However, I'm here today to tell you about some of the things that you can do with this game mode that doesn't involve the matchmaking, so you can have a bit of fun either among friends, or maybe if you're looking for something to spice up Strive's life, because again, 2.0 is around the corner, you need something to do to get you back into the rhythm. What's good, fellas? Patriarch Panda here, and I'm just going to get into things that you can do in 3v3 to make it a bit more enjoyable for yourself. One thing I would absolutely recommend, and you may see it from some of the stuff you've seen on the channel, is play 1v1 with belts. In the Team of 3 game mode, you can set it up so you can have the Vanguard builds, and then when you put on your equipment, you'll actually gain various buffs. You get 4 buffs to choose from that can make you have different builds to attach to your character. It is super fun and unique where there's a ton of variation you can create. Do you already like the movement on Chip? Well, how about even more movement? Yeah, you can give them 3 air dashes or 4 jumps, have a lot of fun with it. Or maybe you're kinda sick of the fact that Chip takes damage, so how about we give him some defense? You know, you could do that, make him way tankier. Do you like playing Potemkin? I know I do. How about you hit even harder so 2 Potemkin busters can kill? Do you like playing resource characters that have fantastic options when they eventually get a bar a meter? Well, there's a bunch of builds that you can do that either involve tension going up over the match, or even lowering your health to make your tension and burst go up even more. There's a ton of resources that you can play to either be your health, burst, or tension using the items in the equipment mode. It's so cool. And to highlight on this, I run a Team of 3 bracket where it's a 1v1 with builds I call it Strive Block, and I get to see a lot of the builds that people create. One of the more popular builds is running a damage build using poison, fantastic on characters like Giovanna and Sin. My build I do see is the passive Aska build, which is a build that makes it so you gain all your meters and health over time, and you've got the movement of a god being insanely difficult to catch in the middle of a game. There is so much you could do, but in like such a fun manner where it's not too in depth, but there's a ton of depth for you to actually dive into and mess about with. The other thing to mention, of course, is the game's gravity. You're gonna get combos that aren't possible that turn into completely possible. Giovanna is one of the biggest buffs of the gravity mode, however some things can be a bit jank because of it. Honestly, with enough of like messing about with it, you could create some fun as hell combos that are just like an absolute spectacle, which is why I recommend one thing you can do is combo videos. You can't set counter hit, which is one of the crappier things, but on normal hit you do still get the gravity, you do still get all your build stuff. Which is why I recommend getting in with a friend, maybe make them use a very long move that's easy to counter hit, get your combo, look cool as hell, you know, have a ton of fun with it. There's a ton of creativity that you can do with a combo like mode like this. You know, you gotta create videos, you gotta be creative. It's a bit sucky you can't set positive bonus, counter hit and all that stuff, but there's definitely more stuff you could do here than regular Strive. One thing that you could do that is actually fantastic about this game mode is handicap matches. That's right, so you can set it up so you can do a 2v1 or a 2v3. Which would be super interesting if we got some super high level players to be the 1 or the 2. And then get some like pretty solid players, maybe average players to be the 3 or the 2, right? You get 1 on 2, you get big man Andros up against like me and Donna. That'd be hilarious, right? Who's the better Potemkin when 2 of them are squared up against one of the best ones in the world, you know? The 2v1 is just very fun. It's very, like, you've got to be on your toes and all that stuff. Maybe you can set some custom rule among friends where it's like you're not allowed to use items, but you're allowed to use assists. And then with the 2v3, that's just like a group of friends where it's like 2 of them are definitely better, and then the 3 yous need to gang up to take on that too. It's a very different way of playing the game. Sure, don't get me wrong, it's gonna be awkward for those situations where it's the 3 and it's like, oh, I want to play the game, but only one of yous really get to play the game. That's where I understand the issues with this mode. But mess about with the other stuff like 2v2s or 2v1s and all that stuff. Oh, it's super hype. Yeah, you don't need the 3, honestly. You can play custom 2v2s. When it comes to 2v2, tagging in and out is actually worth doing. It's a very solid play in 2v2 because they aren't going to be tanking as much as they normally would in 3v3. In 2v2, you can actually go for a tag to get the kill, and you can create some fun custom combos, right? 2v2 can be very hype when you get those custom combos down. One thing that you can do, of course there was the 1v1 tournaments I talked about earlier, is unique tournament formats. Like I said, you can maybe run something like duos, or maybe you can run something where it's a 1 versus 2 bracket or 1v2 expedition, where you get someone who wants to play as the 1 and someone that wants to play as the 2. Of course, this is kind of like what I'm saying with like the 1v2, 3v2 stuff, but in a case of like, if you host tournaments, this is something that you can do. One idea I had for an expedition is you get 6 people to play against another group of 6, and then you go back and forth between who the players want to play with up against how do they respond. So left side will be all like, okay, I'm taking on that guy, because that's my order, I'm going to take on that guy, and I'm going to make it a 2v1, I'm going to grab my buddy, right? I'm going to make it a 2v1, and then you go to the other guy, and he goes like, he can choose to play by himself, be a sacrifice for the team so they can have the numbers advantage in other fights, or they can make it a 2v2, try and save that guy, or they can make it a 3v2 and try to snuff out the 2v1 attempt, you know? So there's a lot of cool tournament and expedition ideas that you could do if you host this stuff. I highly recommend think about tournament formats with this mode. But I recommend it if you want to get someone to strive and like they're having issues maybe getting down the game or learning it, throw them into this mode. Honestly, either play custom 1v1s, or if you have multiple friends, do 2v2, 2v1s. If you have friends, play duels. Honestly, you'll have a great time. Just don't matchmake. The matchmaking's dead. This is the point we talked about at the start. Matchmaking is dead. 3v3 is dead. But yeah, there's honestly a lot that you can do with this game mode that is kind of going underutilized because the current fan base of Guilty Gear Strive are either people that don't play it. As funny as that is to say, you know, I love Elfel, I love Bridget, 2 hours on the game. I love Potemkin, 2 hours on the game. Not me though. I had a ridiculous amount. But that's one of the problems, is like casuals aren't going to play this. And competitive players, the main reason why they didn't play it is because, you know, it's a very big distraction from the thing that they're currently doing. Most Strive players are very competitive, you know, they're not on these types of modes. They aren't trying to have a good time, they're not trying to have a fun time. They're in a competitive mood 100% of the time from what I've seen. Most of the Strive community I'm involved in, don't really play casual modes. They really don't. But yeah, if you can't do a lot of this, I recommend joining the Strive Lock if you're from EU. Basically 1v1 tournament with builds, and it's genuinely a ton of fun. Gecko Scroll's in the first one, sadly couldn't make the second one, but we're getting more and more entrants every time we host this bi-weekly, so if you're interested, would mean a ton. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Just a short little videos. I'm working on the next odd. And, you know, maybe I might do some more 3v3 stuff. Maybe break down assists, break down items, who knows. Try out 1v1 with belts. It's fun. Peace, peace.